Hi, and welcome to the 29th episode of the Wingley Update. I can't even remember the 28th show. Today I will be standing, not sitting and all alone. But we're going to have Mark appear twice today. The first time he's going to show us the TypeScript demo. And we'll talk about this. And then we'll do his kind of the regular changelog. And then if time permits, I'll go over a couple of good first issues that are interesting, that I found interesting. But let's see. So you all know him by DJ Mark, or by Mark the changelog, or by Mark the guy who is responsible of VS Code and TypeScript right now. I mean, actually, he touches a lot of stuff. Let's hear it from Mark.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's crazy to think that there was a period of time where I wasn't on the show at all. And
Right.
Today I'm like the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of pressure, I gotta say.
A lot of pressure. Yeah. So what do you have for us today, Mark?
I'm gonna go over this kind of, I don't know what to call it, an initiative, or not a feature, or just like an area of something that we worked on to get it looking good, which is using TypeScript with the Wing toolchain. I guess a way to start that out is how that's maybe already a confusing sentence.
Okay.
Right? Like, I this wasn't intentional, but saying Wing is ambiguous, right?
Okay.
Like, it's like you say Wing, and are you thinking of the language?
Right.
Or are you thinking of like the Wing, the CLI? And I guess like it's always good to remember that we're like Wing is a solution. Like, holistically, Wing is a solution. But it does also share its name with Wing, the tool chain.
Right.
And sometimes you'll say Wing instead of Wing Lang, just like you don't say Go Lang all the time. You might say Go or Rust Lang or Rust. Yeah. Anyway, so
no, not anyway. This is super interesting. Because for me, when I'm trying to say maybe Wing is a programming model, kind of, so it's a little lighter. But the thing is that I don't know, right? I mean, what will Wing? I know what I want to solve. I know what we're here to do. That's easy. We're here to basically, guys, just fucking write code, make it happen, build applications.
Democratize the cloud, right?
Yeah, democratize. I mean, just have fun, writing, hectic feedback. I know exactly what I want the result to be. Whether it's going to be Wing Cloud or Wing Lang. I'm hoping it's going to be Wing Lang. I believe it's going to be Wing Lang and TypeScript. But I don't know. I have no idea. I'm definitely I want to use the Wing command line. Probably we never say the programming model. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, along these lines, I think related to a question that we both thought about and got asked a lot, still to this day, is why a language, right? Why a language? Why a language? Which is a good question. But like we thought about it. It wasn't automatic. This wasn't, the goal is the solution.
Right.
So, but we thought about it and we decided, like, you know what? Let's try out this language. Let's fuck around. Let's try something more inventive than the usual framework / library solution.
Right.
But we didn't go down the route of trying the framework. We thought about it a lot, and given the knowledge of all the people thinking about Wing in the early days, we're like, you know what? Okay, let's try it. But now, what I'm going to show today is the opportunity of like, well, let's see it. What if we try our best to make TypeScript work?
Awesome. Interesting.
In Wing as the solution, and also in Wing the toolchain.
Interesting. You know what was the? We're gonna show the demo right now. You know what the thing that kind of got me the most rational kind of point of view that kind of convinced me I wasn't convinced in start. I didn't think we should start with the language. I mean, just a little bit of it, but But the more, I mean, the thing that basically convinced me is saying if we're not going to start with the language and we're going to succeed, the language is not going to happen. I mean, it's something powerful. It's basically if we would do something else and it wouldn't be, and it would succeed, it would be extremely kind of hard to basically put effort on something else. And I'm in love with the language. With the pre-flight part of it, mostly. The in-flight part is also there's nice stuff about it, really cool stuff about this, but it's there's still some gaps for it to compete with other languages. So yeah,
it's funny to think about that. So pre-flight is competing with basically every other IAC.
right.
And you know what? I think Wing wins that contest, or at least matches even its early days.
Yeah.
In flight, you're competing with every programming language that's ever been made.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough competition.
Yeah, I want to. For me, it's. I mean, I haven't worked with Pulumi. I've worked with Terraform, CloudFormation, and I've seen enough of the AWS CDK and CDKTF. So I haven't worked with Pulumi, but Wing, for me, is much better than them. I mean, it's much more intuitive for me. But who knows? Maybe because I'm using it a lot. But I think I think that the experience is much better. So you're gonna share your screen? Are you gonna show us something, or you?
I am. Yeah, screens are ready to be shown.
Okay. Should we put your screen on screen?
Go for it. Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. Ooh.
All right. So I'm starting out with Wing. So
Nice.
Familiar place. Just a trivial setup of an application that there's a bucket, a function, and a function that interacts with the bucket,
right?
And then a test that runs the function and checks the bucket's contents. This is I won't go over it other than what I just said as a thing, and just because I'm going to use this as the simple example to say what would this look like in Wing? Because when you think about it, like there is a lot going on here. There's a lot going on.
Like Wing? That's what you said?
What would this? Oh, sorry. What would this look like in TypeScript?
Okay.
My bad.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Because so there's a lot going on here that
nice.
Wing takes care of for you. Even just on its own, the in-flight keyword
right
is doing so much of
right.
what is this? What is this supposed to be? Because it's
nice.
Anyway. Oh well, let's go over that this conversion.
So
which I haven't tried doing with AI. I don't know if AI would be able to do it automatically, but
yeah. So I'm seeing kind of creating cloud resources. So there's a scope, there's the ID, there's some capturing, lifting, permissions. I don't know. Test bucket is also an idiom of the Winglang. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much happening here. I mean, even I was going to say bring. That's very important. That's one of our famous keywords. How can you match this?
Right.
Import? It's not the same.
No.
It doesn't have the same feeling.
Yeah.
So to start out with, I ran with a Wing new command to generate an empty project.
Yep.
But I specified the language as TypeScript.
Yep.
I should say that this feature has been out for actually quite a while now. I haven't covered it in any of the changelogs yet in preparation for kind of more holistically talking about it here.
Yep.
That talked about the new empty template created just kind of like this bare bones TS file. I'm going to delete what's in it just we can start from more scratch.
Okay.
To talk about what's going on and to recreate our Wing file.
Right.
So the way that the TypeScript framework, so I should say the name of the actual framework. We're calling it a framework. It's not a library. It's a framework. So this contains all this is a Wing application.
Right.
And this is the framework to build your Wing application in.
Right.
The language, however, is TypeScript.
Right.
So the way that it works is that your entry point, this is kind of we have a main.ts file, and to kind of match that that concept, we have a main function that you call. Nice. And in this function, this is what creates your application.
Okay.
There are some reasons for doing this. I won't cover here, but it has some nice properties that, like, we have this root, which is our like kind of like the root of our tree of resources. This is again done for you in Wing, but we have to expose it some way in TypeScript for you to use. So let's
Yeah.
start with a bucket.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, kind of the underlining kind of provisioning technology here is based on the CDK, where there's a resource tree, right? I mean, or a construct tree. So what is the root of all constructs, or the head of the tree, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is basically like when you say new cloud.bucket in Wing,
Nice.
this is
Nice.
basically what's being done for you
Yeah.
already. Like injecting this root of the tree so that you know that this bucket is part of that tree, and automatically injecting an ID based on the name of the resource itself.
Right. Right.
So already right now, I can use this and run this. I mean, it's not particularly interesting, but I can do it. And it compiles to like the simulator,
Nice.
like it like you can see the sorry, I should make this. Here's a tree, like here's the resource tree, like it created
Yeah.
why is there a function?
There isn't a function. There's nothing. There's no. You don't have any assets.
Oh, I didn't save. I didn't save this file. It was compiling the template version.
You had a function there? No, but you didn't have.
When you do Wing new with empty, it actually has some boilerplate.
Okay.
Or it has like just some boring stuff to show that it works. Here's the new tree. Okay, sorry. That was so I just didn't save the file. So here's the bucket, and it's just a bucket and some other metadata.
Yeah, now I see.
And this works. So right now, this already works for TF-AWS. This works in the same way any other Wing file would.
Right.
Use it Wing in the console and all that.
Right.
But let's actually do stuff now. Let's do the crazy part. Let's make a function.
So the crazy part is basically where when we think about TypeScript, it's not aware of the two phases, the in-flight and the pre-flight phase, right? So the crazy part has to be somewhere around the in-flight.
So like when I look at this function, this argument that would be here, it's expecting a function handler. I'm like, okay, well, what do I put here? Because the code that would run, like normally in TypeScript, you might write, maybe I want like an async function,
right?
That does something,
right? What's wrong with that?
Well, this is not an in-flight. This is just some TypeScript code. Like that's the kind of distinction. Like as far as you're concerned, there's no distinction between what's in here and what's out here, and this is kind of the core of why TypeScript doesn't inherently, work with this. That there is a difference. We can try to hide it. We can try to pretend there's not a difference.
No, come on. What's the limitation? I mean, what's the why? Why isn't it in-flight? Can I do? What would be the problem if it was working like this?
Because we'll see that, like, so Bucket, for example, has an API, and when you're referencing this bucket, it's the bucket that you created in pre-flight.
Yeah.
But that bucket doesn't. You don't have access to all the same APIs and knowledge that you would have in pre-flight. I can't like create these events while in flight. You can't do this in Wing either.
Right. And I also want to see the get, the put, the list, the delete.
Yeah, like that's not a part of that contract. So
yeah, awesome.
The way this works is you need to wrap your async functions in this in-flight concept, which again matching the keyword here. And inside this you can put a function. And now the red went away, and you'll know inside of this call that this callback is in-flight code. This will not run when you compile. This will run later in the function or wherever.
But I still can reference the bucket, right? I mean, I can still reference
you still can, but an important factor here, and I probably should have tested this, making sure this still works. But an important factor here is you can't let's say you try to do some of this, some of these things. Let's say you try to, I don't even care. I'll let Copilot take care of that. If you do this, if you try to compile it, this doesn't currently show up in the IDE, but there is a compilation error. So we have hooks into the TypeScript compiler to recognize when you're accessing like the wrong like
Awesome.
phase of object.
Great error, man. Unable
thank
to
you.
access bucket in in-flight closure. Use lift bucket before the in-flight and reference the sorted CTX.
Yeah, so here's some spoilers of
Okay.
what we can do
Yeah.
here.
Right.
So lifting, which is a concept that isn't implicitly done in Wing, although now there's just today there was a new feature to do it explicitly. But let's say, okay, I want to make sure this bucket is available inside of this in-flight.
Right.
So let's add this lift bucket.
Right.
Or get rid of the spaces that are here. So now what this did, and it's going to be hard to tell. Yeah, it's going to be impossible to tell based on this contract. But the first argument of this in-flight closure is a context object that contains everything that was lifted.
Yep.
And you can see here is bucket.
Nice.
Not only is it bucket, but it's a bucket client.
Nice.
So now this contract is no longer valid, and you'll have to say, one of these.
Okay. Oh, rename. I didn't know we have rename. Nice.
Oh yeah. Lots of pretty big. Bucket has probably the biggest surface area of any of our things
that we're implementing. Biggest surface area that we're implementing. Yeah.
I'm gonna copy paste just a previous version that I had written here, where it just does a bucket.put and puts like some text in there, and then returns this value. I put a wait here, which is also an important distinction, is that in-flights are kind of inherently asynchronous. That's true in Wing too. We just kind of hide it. We say like, because it's always asynchronous, we just also always await by default.
That's my favorite in-flight feature of Winglang, I have to admit.
Yeah, it's definitely, you'll notice it when you go back to TypeScript and you have to write await every couple lines.
No, I mean, especially when you write tests, it's just terrible. Test is basically await something, await something, await something, await something, assert something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking of tests, I guess I should show that this compiles as well, just to
nice.
So everyone knows I'm not bluffing. Yeah, it compiles. But let's write a test, because that seemed like an important enough feature to also kind of make it a first-class citizen here, like it is in Wing. Match that experience. Is it gonna do it for me? No. Well, okay. So test as a keyword, similar to the test as a function, similar to the test keyword.
Right.
Just takes in the name of the test. So let's say like bucket has a value, right? And similar to how tests work in Wing, this is also an in-flight itself.
Right.
So, and I'm going to want to use this bucket, and also I want to use this cloud function I made. So I'm just going to again copy paste.
So you're gonna lift both the bucket and the if. Awesome. And then
so now from cloud.bucket and cloud.function we have cloud.iBucket client and cloud.iFunction client.
Nice.
And these have again the APIs of like invoking a function or getting a key or getting a value by key.
Are you using, what's assert is this? Are you using Wing framework assert or no? No need.
So this is a thing I want to talk about here. This is one of the harder features or more interesting features of how this works right now, that you can use imports at the top of your file within your in-flight. So the framework will take care of making sure that those imports are available in the in-flight for you. This works also for like third-party dependencies, not just node built-ins. And it also works for local files. So I could have a separate file that I import right here, and you can call into it from within your in-flight code. You don't need to lift it.
Nice.
So yeah, that's this is a test, and I can we save this file and run Wing tests on here, and my test passes.
Wow. Can you show me the Wing run command? It's
or like wing it, the console.
Yeah, wing it. Yeah, the wing it. Just want to see.
I can, although I'll need to share a different screen when I do.
Ooh.
We
can skip this. Okay. We can skip this. It's okay.
Okay, it does work. It's on my screen right now.
And it's hot. It does hot reloading.
It does hot reloading. Yeah, it's really like when you look at the TS file in this context, it's just a Wing file. Importantly, it's an entry point file. So I'll jump into limitations a little bit. That right now this is mainly it's mostly the experiment with regards to like making applications rather than libraries. So it's that's like the main focus of this. I would expect Wing to remain the best way to write libraries or you know.
So one of the limitations right now that this thing has, it's because of there's no way to also kind of classes that has both pre-flight and in-flight API, right? I mean,
Yeah, like you know, this kind of gets away with like this looks okay. It's definitely verbose, but it's kind of okay for writing closures. But like it's hard to even imagine what what is if I want to make an abstraction, what are my in-flight? How do I write my in-flight methods here, and how does that
I would basically think it's going to be kind of like generics, not like the generics is not. I mean, so my bucket instead of generics, just do like brackets.
Well, you want like a new syntax?
Yeah, I'm just thinking brackets and then my bucket client or something like that. That's how I would, and it's two different interfaces that you can define them the same classes. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can.
Yeah, something like that.
So like I definitely experimented with options here.
Yeah.
Or my bucket client. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like it's just TypeScript. It really doesn't. It fights this. Like TypeScript's advanced. Like the type system's advanced, but this is not just a typing concern. It's pretty widespreading. So I'd like to look into it more though.
It can't. Maybe it's good. Yeah. But we're not doing this right now. Right now, we're basically saying it's going to be easy to use this. Not, I mean, the lift in-flight part. But if you want to author classes, the best place to do this is Winglang. That's basically it. Awesome.
Yeah. I think if you want to make pre-flight only classes, this is still fine. Like if you want to still compose your resources and you can make multiple, like it doesn't have to just be all be in one file. It can be a full TypeScript project. But you'll probably start to feel the pains of eventually of not being able to make kind of richer abstractions like we get in Wing with the multi-phrase approach. Like I mean, maybe that's the bet here, is that you'll feel it. You'll feel the like, oh, I really wish I could just make an in-flight method on this class. Like it's killing me.
Yeah. For me right now, writing kind of a TypeScript. So inside Winglang, our libraries are written in TypeScript, but inside the Winglang repo, or the Wing repo. But outside in WingLibs, those are Winglang kind of source code libraries, and it's much easier to write the Winglang source code. I mean, it's extremely easier. Not to it's much more easier. It's
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. One last thing I'll show is a kind of like a fun, a fancy feature, I'd say, is so you have lifting, you have in-flight, but an additional thing you can do here is a grant. So this is similar to like in Wing right now. If when you write code like bucket.put inside of your in-flights, we automatically figure out that okay, you're calling put on bucket, therefore you need to make sure you have permissions to access put on the bucket.
Okay, so can I pause you for a second? Do you mind compiling this for Terraform for a second? I just want to take a look at the permissions.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. AWS. So what you should see here when we do this is that by default, anything that you lift will have full permissions of all the methods that are on a bucket.
The main TF JSON, and then you can look for get object. Here it is. Okay. Now we're seeing get object, push object.
Yeah. So see how
we're seeing all the permission, although we're using only put. Now put is only abort and put object. So and we're not seeing this. So what you're saying basically, because you haven't added the grant functionality, right?
Well, there's no implicit. So like we don't have any basically the static analysis that we have in Wing to figure out that this is the case. And even if we did, there's something to be said about the fact that you still have access to all of these things. Like there's nothing telling you in the IDE, for example, that you can't do this. So let's go a little further here and say grant. And it's a similar looking API. It'll tell you like, okay, you have a bucket. So
Nice.
what do you want to grant to it? And you can do an array, and it'll
Oh,
give
nice,
you
nice,
the
nice.
options of what you
Before
can grant to
when
it.
when the array was empty, you didn't. Can you go back to an empty array? Now you have a problem because you haven't granted put. You see, there's an error in the bucket.
Oh yeah, I was skipping right past that. Yeah. So now, right now, this bucket doesn't have anything. I don't think. Yeah, there's no. You
Nice.
can't do anything on it because you haven't been granted any access. And if you give it put, oh sorry,
In a string. Yeah.
you now have access to put. Or if you only have get, you only have access
Got it.
to get.
Got it.
And this should reflect in.
Yeah.
You can try that right now. I didn't.
Before you do this, let's also do the bucket dot put in the second one in line 14 because just to make sure that's gonna work.
Oh yeah, just minimize the.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Yeah.
Although this will also get put and get because it has to. Oh no, never mind. It's invoking it separately.
Right. Right.
So yeah, this should look good. So we shouldn't see things.
Yep. We're only getting abort and put object. Wow. Awesome.
Okay, I didn't recognize abort. I don't know why we.
Yeah. I've asked about this, so I mean, maybe there's the option to. I don't know. It's
definitely less. It definitely removed the many other permissions that were on here.
Right.
So yeah, there you go. So now it's different than Wing, that like where by default you get the limited restrictions, but it has a pretty easy tool to limit it down. And now it makes it part of the contract. So this is kind of different than how Wing works, where it gives you the power. This gives you full power and lets you take it away. And then now your API's expressiveness changes, which is interesting, a different way of doing it.
Right.
So that's my demo of the overall features of this. I think the overall vibe that people get from looking at this is, well, it's more verbose. It's definitely more verbose. That's kind of like
side by side. Can you switch pages for a second?
I can try, although the TypeScript one probably will not even fit.
Okay.
So yeah, these effectively do this. These will do the same thing.
Yeah.
And you can even get it down to this.
Yeah. The only nice thing is that in the left side you can bring assert from node assert. And it's not easy to do this on. I don't know how to do this on the right side. It's
I mean, you can't. You can do extern.
Yeah, and then extern has clunky syntax, I would say, for doing something like that. You have to create a class, and then I mean, it's a lot.
It's definitely heavy, and again, this works with. So one thing about, I mean, I guess this is true in extern too, but like you immediately have access to anything here. This isn't like you can import, Axios or Express or whatever you want. There's not there's not a limit to what you can import here. And it's immediately available. It's not, you don't have to do the extern, jump through hoops and whatever.
Yeah.
So
it would be interesting
that.
to support this. It's awesome. The way to do this, it's bring us. I mean, that would be just great if we could support this.
I'd be glad. Hey. I think I think I should mention that I do want to. I have an idea to fix, but like, if you make like a const. This is like a limitation where if you try to reference this in flight, in TypeScript, in Wing this would just work. It knows to like do this lifting, but this will
you have to lift this?
You will have to lift it explicitly. This should give you an error or not. Did I fix that? I don't know. I may have. Oh no, I keep forgetting to save.
Okay. You don't have
there, yeah. So this is a fixable one. This one actually had, because there's no difference about like the API of this does not change between the lifting.
Right.
So having to do this and then this is pretty crazy, right? Pretty like it's like a feels silly. And I think that one does have a way you can do it. Oh, can you import? You can import any library. I mean, at all. if you do import like JSI or other like or constructy like infrastructure based stuff, you totally can. You have to make sure that when you compile, that you compile with a target that works with that system, which is true in Wing too. That's
so you can import the TWS, the AWS CDK TF. You can import this, but you can import this on both sides, because on the Winglang side it's JSII, and I think you've done the work to allow importing this into Winglang, right? And so both on the left side and on the right side it's possible, and I think kind of the CDK TF is the first class citizen, or any JSII is the first class citizen in the language.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I should also mention that winglibs can so things written in Wing can also be imported in TypeScript.
Yeah,
not files, but like a published Wing library can be imported into TypeScript as well, which means you'll get access to. I should probably stop now, but you can like install with like the containers winglib
or locks.
Like, you want me to do it? You want me to?
I'm good. Which
is you can install it and you can import it, and it'll work. It'll work in the same way it works in Wing. You'll get the full power of like, if it's a multi-target supporting thing, or it has simulator implementations, you get the whole thing with types.
Awesome.
As well.
Awesome. So you're not showing the new TypeScript in-flight pre-flight stuff at all right now. The DTS file, the lifting mechanism, that's not, or is it part of the other mark that's going to do in the changelog? You're not.
It's actually not in that too, because I was already doing too much today.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think I have some fixes to do. There's some work that like. I'm sure I'll have something to say next time I'm on.
Awesome.
In the changelog about it. We can go over it.
I played around with it today, and it's super interesting. Great. Anything else, Mark, on this?
On this, I'll be back. No, I'm good.